What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JB Sports, back again with another one. The NBA first round Eastern Conference matchups are set. I'm going to break down the matchups and give you my prediction on who's going to advance to the second round of the playoffs as they start Saturday on ESPN. First of all, we got the number one seed in the Eastern Conference, the Philadelphia 76ers, led by MVP candidate Joel Embiid, taking on the triple-double machine and fiery competitor, 8-seeded team led by Russell Westbrook, the Washington Wizards. Now, this matchup is a very interesting matchup. I'm glad that Washington was able to beat Indiana last night, because Indiana versus Philadelphia would have been horrible TV ratings, number one, and that would have been a sweep waiting to happen. But this series, I think, is going to be a little bit more interesting. I don't think it's going to be a long series, don't get me wrong, but I think it's going to be a more of an interesting series. You got Joel Embiid and Russell Westbrook, who both have a history with each other. They've had altercations in the past dating back to when Russell Westbrook was in Oklahoma City. So that's going to be very, very interesting how those two guys handle each other in this series. They're not going to be guarding each other, but Russell Westbrook going to try to take it to the rack and dunk over Joel Embiid. They're going to meet each other at the rim numerous times in this series. It's going to be very, very interesting to see who gets the better end of those matchups at the rim. But as far as the matchup goes, the number one problem for the Washington Wizards is they have nobody that can handle Joel Embiid. Nobody on the roster. They've got Alex Len. Come on now, he's a role player. He's a guy that's got some length, but he don't have the footwork or really the athleticism to handle Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid gonna be able to dominate this series. They got Hashiruma, is I butcher his name, Hashiruma from Gonzaga. He's more of a perimeter player. He don't have the girth to handle Joel Embiid. But they might put him on him at times, but he doesn't have he's got the length, but he just don't have the girth to handle, or the size actually, to handle Joel Embiid. So Joel Embiid should average around 30 points and 15 rebounds in this series. As far as the perimeter goes, I think Washington Wizards can have some success on the perimeter at times. They've got one of the best backcourts in the NBA in Russell Westbrook, who I said earlier is averaging a triple-double for the second season. He's averaging a triple-double for the third season in his NBA career. And you got one of the best shooters in the NBA and one of the best two guards in the NBA in Bradley Beal, who in my opinion, I think is hurt. I think he's injured. I don't think he's 100%. When I watched him play in that Boston Celtics series, he did not look like the Bradley Beal that we all know and love. So I think he's going to struggle in this series too. I think they're going to put Ben Gordon on Bradley Beal. I think they're going to try to take Bradley Beal away, because they know if Bradley Beal goes off for 30, 35, and you know what Russell Westbrook brings to the table with his triple-double. He's going to score, even if it's not efficiently. He's going to score, he's going to get rebounds, get assists. And if both of those guys go out, it could be problems for Philadelphia. It could cause Philadelphia to end up in a longer series than they anticipate. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Ben Simmons, who's one of the best perimeter defenders in the game, will be able to slow down Bradley Beal enough. And due to Bradley Beal not being 100%, I think he will be able to slow down Bradley Beal enough to limit his effectiveness that he has done throughout his career. And I think that'll be problematic for Washington Wizards. I think Tobias Harris is another matchup nightmare for the Washington Wizards, as he's a guy that can post up smaller guys, and he can take bigger guys on the outside and shoot by over them and go by the bigger guys when they're outside on the perimeter. He's a guy that can go inside, outside. A good shooter, mid-range shooter, and a decent enough three-point shooter, too, to keep you honest. So it's just a bad matchup at the center position for Washington Wizards, and a bad matchup at the small forward position. And then with the advantage that they do have at the perimeter position, again, the Philadelphia 76ers have one of the best perimeter defenders in Ben Simmons, who will probably make all defensive NBA this year. If not first team, he definitely will be on the second or third team for all defensive NBA. So he's one of the best perimeter defenders. Now, they moved him to the 4 earlier this year, but that's basically just a position they moved him to, because they wanted Embiid to play the 5. They wanted to basically keep the 4 as spaced out as possible, but he's basically playing a point power forward, that being Ben Simmons. So I like the Philadelphia 76ers 4-1 to get Washington up out of there and move on to the second round of the playoffs. Now we've got the 4-5 matchup we got the surprise of the year, the surprise in the NBA this year, the New York Knickerbockers, led by Tom Thibodeau. Well, you know, when he was in Chicago, they played smash mouth defense. I'm gonna use a phrase that they use in the NFL, but they play smash mouth defense in the NBA. They're a very physical team. They play real strong defense. They play possession style defense. What I mean by that is they limit your possession. They're gonna work that shot clock down, and they're gonna look for the best shot popular, but they're not gonna be in any hurry to speed the game up. They're gonna try to slow down a team in Atlanta that likes to play up tempo, a team that likes to get up and down the court, a team that likes to get up a lot of threes, a team that got one of the most exciting players in the NBA, the Steph Curry of the Eastern Conference. That's Trae Young, as I like to call him, Ice Trae. And he's got ice water going through his veins. He's hit numerous big shots for Atlanta for them to have one of the best seasons they had probably since that team that was led by Kyle Korver, and that team that finished #1 in the East, but they got swept by LeBron James in the Eastern Conference Finals when LeBron was with Cleveland. This is the best team that they had since that team there. And that team was a 60-win team. So they've endured some bad seasons since then. Some seasons, I ain't gonna say bad seasons, some disappointing seasons since then. And they finally were able to rebound this year with a young nucleus led by Trae Young. They got some skilled guys inside led by Collins. They've got a nice team. Like they had Rajon Rondo this season, but they traded him to the Los Angeles Clippers. And I think this series they're gonna probably miss that veteran experience. That guy that's been in many NBA playoff games, a guy that's basically got a PhD in playoff basketball, and Rajon Rondo. They gonna miss him in this series. Now they got Clint Capella, who played with the Houston Rockets. He's a guy that's very athletic, a guy that can finish at the rim. So he's gonna make life difficult for Randolph. Randolph has been having a great year. Great year. Hopefully he get his just due and he make first team All NBA, because he definitely deserve it. But something tells me that he probably not gonna make it. They probably gonna put him on the second team. And if that's the case, they ain't paying attention to what type of year Randolph had, man. He's had a top 5 MVP type of year, really. He's not no MVP. He's definitely out of the top 3 of the finalists. That's this year. The finalists is the Joker, Embiid, and Steph Curry. Is the top 3 finalists for the MVP. If they had a top 5, Randolph would definitely be in that top 5 for MVP. That's the type of year he's had. And I think what this series going to boil down to is the New York Knicks style of play is more successful in the playoffs than the Atlanta Hawks style of play. I know a lot of people going to say, man, what you talking about, JB Sports? You ain't watched the Golden State Warriors win championships? 3 championships, playing the up-tempo, playing up and down, high-scoring type of basketball, getting up there, getting up a lot of threes. Yeah, they played that style, but they were a great defensive team, too. People got caught up in their offense, but they were a great defensive team, too. It wasn't just that they were playing, high-flying type of offensive basketball, running and gunning, playing up-tempo. They were playing that type of ball, but they could play half-court ball, too. When you slow them down in the playoffs, they can run sets. Set a lot of high screens for Curry. They set a lot of backdoor screens to get backdoor layups for Curry and Klay Thompson. So they ran a motion style offense that they learned up under that Princeton coach that won for so many years in Princeton. That guy, I think his name was Pete Carril, if I'm not mistaken. They ran a similar offense to what they ran in Princeton. So, and that offense was very successful in the half court. So it ain't just what it's about with the Golden State Warriors, them getting up and down the court, playing high tempo basketball, shooting a lot of threes. They was able to execute in the half court, and that's what many people was missing when you talk about the run that the Golden State Warriors was on when they won 3 championships in a 5-year span, if I'm not mistaken. And Atlanta's got to get to that point, especially on defense. Their defense is not good. And it's going to have to be good in this series for them to have any kind of chance to beat the Knicks, because the Knicks are going to slow them down. Like I said, it's easier to slow a team down than to speed a team up. And Atlanta's going to try to speed up the Knicks, but they're not going to be able to do that. Tom Thibodeau is going to slow them down. He's going to limit their position. He's going to make them play smash mouth, grind it out type of basketball. And I think that's going to be to the advantage of the New York Knicks. Now, don't get me wrong. It's going to be a long series. This ain't going to be no short series like 4 or 5 games. It's going to be a long series, but I like the Knicks to win this series in 6 games, 4 games to 2. I think it'll be a very competitive series. Won't be a bit surprised after 4 games. It's 2-2. But I think the Knicks, with Tom Thibodeau, who has a lot of playoff experience, will make the proper adjustments and make maybe the proper lineup changes if necessary to move on and advance to the second round of the playoffs, led by Randolph. I look for them to win this series and meet up with the New York Knicks in the second round of the Eastern Conference playoffs. Trae Young is it's going to be interesting. Before I move on to the next series, Trae Young is going to try to have a breakout series. He's going to try to do the Reggie Miller to the New York Knicks himself. He's going to try to have some big-time playoff moments, and this is his stage. It's real big. It's a stage that he want to be on. Madison Square Garden. You know, you looked at Reggie Miller and the great shooter that he was. He had some of his greatest moments of his NBA career in Madison Square Garden. And Trae Young will try to take a page from the Reggie Miller playbook and have a similar moments in Madison Square Garden. But I think they're going to be able to lock him up. They're going to try to run him off them three-point line and try to make him put the ball on the floor and take it to the basket, where they'll be a little bit more successful with their interior defense led by Randolph. They've got some long, lifty guys inside that's very athletic. So it's going to be a good matchup, man. But I like the Knicks 4 games to 2 to advance to the second round of the playoffs. Let's go to the 3-6 matchup. This is going to be a good matchup here. This is a sad state of affairs that this matchup is in the first round. But you got the you got the number 3 seed Milwaukee Bucks taking on the defending Eastern Conference champions, Miami Heat, who are the 6th seed. And the Miami Heat are underseeded. I'm just going to break that down to you right now. They're the 6th seed. They're underseeded. They're underseeded. They won for the injuries to Butler, and they lost some injuries to a couple other shooters, missed a lot of time. They won for the fact that they had injuries that ravaged their season, especially in the first half of the season. They wouldn't have been no 6th seed. They probably would have been a 3 seed or something like that. They definitely would have finished ahead of New York and Atlanta, in my opinion. And they would never be in this situation. But they're a 6th seed, and this matchup here is really a second round matchup that's going to happen in the first round matchup. Like I said, if Miami wouldn't have had those injuries to Jimmy Butler, who was their best player early in the year, he missed a lot of time. I think he missed around 20 games, if I'm not mistaken. And they lost, like I said, they lost other starters for multiple games throughout the season. So they are a 6th seed, but they really are a 3 seed masquerading as a 6th seed. And then you got Milwaukee, who's had one of the best records in the Eastern Conference and in the NBA for the last couple of years. You know, they've had a down year. If you listen to certain NBA experts and NBA pundits, but they still a 3 seed. And you know, you got to understand that Philadelphia's had a great season, and Brooklyn had a great season. So they the number 3 seed, and they're pretty much right there where they was the last couple of years. It's just the Eastern Conference is a little bit more deeper than it was probably the last 2 years that Milwaukee was reigning supreme in the Eastern Conference as far as the regular season goes. And this is going to be a good matchup, but the problem is Eric Spoelstra is going to shut that paint down. He's going to wall that paint off, and he's going to make Giannis Antetokounmpo, a.k.a. the Greek Freak, he's going to make him have to hit jumpers to be successful. And up to this point, he's not shown to be a consistent outside shooter. And until he does that, they're going to have problems. And it's a shame that they got this matchup in the first round, because I think if they were playing anybody else, say if they were playing like Atlanta or even New York, I would favor Milwaukee to get by those teams. But playing a playoff-tested and NBA championship coach, Eric Spoelstra, he's going to devise a plan like he did last year. You got to understand that Miami beat Milwaukee last year 4-1 in the bubble, and damn near swept them. Remember, they was up 3-0 and had them on the ropes in Game 4 until Middleton went crazy, I think, in that fourth quarter, especially the last 5 minutes. And the Greek Freak had a good game. I think he got hurt in that game, but they was able to win the Game 4 to avoid the sweep. But they got beat the next game and got swept and got beat 4-1. So Miami has the blueprint to beat Milwaukee, as they shown last year. Now, they don't have Jay Crowder. Jay Crowder was a big contributor to their team last year. He hit a lot of clutch threes, and he's one of their better defenders, so they're losing him. But I still think they got enough to get by Milwaukee. I don't think they'll dominate them like they did last year in the bubble, but I think they win this series 4-2. You know, Milwaukee has added Jrue Holiday from last year's team. You know, Eric Bledsoe was on last year's team, and he was a guy that was always hurt. So he was always coming off some injury, and it was hard for him to get chemistry with his teammates. But Jrue Holiday is a consummate professional, a guy that's one of the better perimeter defenders. So they're going to ask him to guard Jimmy Butler. And if he can slow down Jimmy Butler, because Jimmy Butler really hurt Milwaukee last year. He really hurt it. He put a lot of big scoring nights in that 5-game domination by Miami last year in the bubble. They're going to look for Jrue Holiday to slow him down, slow his effectiveness down. If he's able to do that, then Milwaukee will have a chance to pull this series out. But I don't think he's going to be able to slow down Jimmy Butler enough for them to overcome the Miami Heat. I just think when your best player gets nullified and gets his effectiveness gets substantially decreased, which I think is going to be the case with Giannis Antetokounmpo with his lack of outside shooting, and Miami being one of the best defensive teams in the NBA, and you get Eric Spoelstra in a 7-game series where he can focus in on you, he's going to devise that same defensive plan to wall off that paint, to keep Giannis from getting inside that paint where he's pretty much, once he gets inside 5 feet to the rim, it's over, it's a wrap. He like Stoudemire. Once he gets close to that rim, you can hang it up. He's gonna rise to that rim, either dunk it or finish it or lays it up. He's just too athletic and too long and too big once he gets close to that rim. And Miami will make him have to hit jumpers to beat Miami. And I don't think he'll be able to hit enough jumpers to do that. Even though he has improved his outside shooting, he still hasn't improved it to the level that he needs for his team to advance against a team of the caliber and of the quality of the Miami Heat. So I like the Miami Heat 4-2 to defeat the Milwaukee Bucks to advance to the second round of the NBA playoffs. Now let's go to the last matchup. You got the 2 versus 7 seed. You got the Brooklyn Nets versus the Boston Celtics. The big 3 of the Brooklyn Nets: James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, a.k.a. Durantula, going up against Jason Tatum, fresh off a 50-point game in the play-in game against the Washington Wizards. And you got Kemba Walker, who's had an injury-plagued season, still trying to find chemistry with his teammates. Kind of remind me of Eric Bledsoe last year, or the last couple of years when he was in Milwaukee. He always hurt, and when he got back, it was just hard for him to get into any kind of rhythm. That's the same thing seems to be the case with Kemba Walker and his teammates in Boston. Well, they got him. They're going to need some big games out of him, definitely. And they got Fournier. Old Fournier from Orlando. A guy that's got very high skill level, can shoot the 3, can get to the basket, has what you call that Euro game. Very, very fundamentally sound, but he's just too inconsistent. That's why Orlando got rid of him. Too inconsistent. He'll go 3 for 14, 3 for 12 one game. Then the next game, he might go, 10 for 17. He's just too inconsistent, man. But if he can have a couple of games where he can give him be him that third option to go along with Kemba Walker and Jason Tatum, maybe they can steal an extra game. But I don't see this series going long at all. I think Fournier is too inconsistent, and I think Brooklyn has got too much firepower, just to be honest with you. Even with Jason Tatum going off, they can put Durant on him. Durant can, with his length and athleticism, can stay with Tatum. He can make Tatum life tough on the perimeter. If I'm Tatum, if I got Durant on me, I'm going to try to take Durant to the rim, but Durant is so long that even if you get a step on him, he can still recover at the rim and block your shot based on his length. So they can throw him on him. They can even put Harden on him. And Harden can get a little bit more physical with Tatum. And if Tatum tries to go in the post and shoot his little mid-range game, they can put Harden on him to kind of limit that. So they got multiple guys that they can throw on Jason Tatum. And the problem with Boston is they got Marcus Smart, who's a good perimeter defender. I can see him playing Kevin Durant. He's going to try to get up in Kevin Durant's grill, try to get inside him and try to body up Kevin Durant, try to take Kevin Durant's legs away from him as he's got a real strong base. And Kevin Durant's going to try to just rise up above him and shoot over him because he knows he's got the length to get any kind of shot he wants as far as him. So that matchup's going to come down to can Marcus Smart push him a little further out than what Kevin Durant wants to be at as far as where he wants to shoot at on the court. That's what that's going to come down to. And Marcus Smart going to try to see if Kevin Durant likes to shoot the little 15-footer, Marcus Smart going to try to push him out to around 16 or 17 feet. Basically push him a little further out than where he want to be at as far as when he wants to take that shot. And that's going to be the key thing that's going on in that series. Now, as far as James Harden goes, he's going to be the point guard. He's going to run the show. They really have no answer for him. they're going to run a couple of guys. You know, Boston does have the advantage as far as head coaching wise, so that's why I'm going to give them one game. And they got a bunch of gritty defenders, especially on the perimeter, to give Harden some issues. Not only smart, but they got a couple of guys off the bench that are very physical, very guys that got very strong. You call them, they got them tree trunk style of guys, man. Real strong base. Guys that they can bring off the bench that they can run at Harden. Kyrie Irving, they have no answer for him, but Kemba Walker's going to have to basically cancel out Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving's had a great year. Now, he's had problems, in people's opinion, outside of the court, but he's been dealing with a lot of social issues that he's been trying to bring to light and stuff like that, and I salute him for that, actually. But that matchup between him and Kemba Walker is going to be very, very interesting. Kyrie Irving is the better player, but Kemba is a guy that if he can get to that level like he was when he was in Charlotte and play to that level and basically cancel out Kyrie Irving, that could be a plus in Boston Celtics column, and that could cause the series to go a little bit longer than people anticipate. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Kyrie Irving, based on how he played this year, and based on Kemba Walker injury situation and not getting into a rhythm and get the chemistry with his teammates this season, I think that Kyrie Irving gets the better of that matchup. I think James Harden goes off too. They really have no answer for him. He gets his numbers, and I think Kevin Durant will have some problems with Marcus Smart, but I think his size, and not his size, but his length, was able to shoot over a Marcus Smart. Even at 17, 18 feet, he's got unlimited range. He'll be able to just shoot right over Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart, like I said, is going to try to get in his grill and push him out a little bit, but his length is still going, in his skill level, it's not going to matter. He's still going to be able to get his shot out and put up good numbers. So I just think the explosiveness and just the overall talent of Brooklyn is going to get them by this series. 4-1. I think Tatum get them one game. Now, the one thing I will worry about if I'm a Brooklyn Nets fan is their defense. That defense is not good. Their defense is not good at all. It's not where it needs to be if you're trying to win a championship. They're going to have to improve that in the playoffs. So that's what I'm going to really be looking at in this series. How much improvement does I see out of the Brooklyn Nets defense? It ain't got to be great. It ain't got to be Los Angeles Lakers great or even Golden State Warriors great. But it's got to be average. It's got to be able to hold its own, that defense. It's got to be acceptable defense. You got to compete. You can't be missing assignments, giving up point-blank layups because your communication ain't there. You can't have them type of possession. If they guys score over you with a hand on your face, you tip your hat to them and you get back down on the other end of the court. You need to have that type of defense to win a championship in Brooklyn. So that's what I'll be keeping my eye on. But I like the Brooklyn Nets to advance to the second round of the NBA playoffs, 4-1 over the Boston Celtics. So this is what I like in the second round. I like the New York Knicks and the Philadelphia 76ers to meet up in the second round. And I like the Brooklyn Nets and the Miami Heat, which is my only quote-unquote upset in the first round, to meet up in the second round of the Eastern Conference playoffs. Again, let me repeat myself. New York versus Philadelphia. Well, we'll put it like this. Philadelphia versus New York, 1 versus 4 in the second round. And I got Brooklyn versus Miami, 2 versus 6 in the second round of playoffs. Now, once we get to the second round, I'll break those matchups down too when we get to the second round of who I like to advance to the Eastern Conference final. Let me know your thoughts about who you like in the first round of the Eastern Conference NBA playoffs. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Who do you like and how many games? And hit the like button if you like the content of this video. And subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. Holla.